y'all, it's Kim again. So this is video 2 with the transcript and the audio. Axios actually put this out, I think over the weekend, or maybe it was Friday. But anyway, this is for the Robert Hur and President Joe Biden special counsel interview on the classified documents. So let me start here. And then, well, let me show you where we're at too. We're on page 26, and we're going to start right here with where it says Mr. Hur. Hold on. I hear something cracking. I'm trying to figure out the audio on all this. I have the mic here, and then I have a speaker, because then you can't hear yourself otherwise. Hopefully it will be okay. I'm going to try to turn this up because this audio is a little hard to hear. But let me get myself out of the middle of this, kind of like that. Okay, so where it says okay, right here, is where we're going to start.
And were there ever occasions, I'll ask the same question I asked before about this other category of classified documents. Were there occasions when you thought, I want to hang on to this, I got to read it again, I got to think about it some more, I got to wait until something else comes
If it was marked with if it was in a binder or had a marking on a top secret, that cover page or eyes only, then I would always give that back and have them hold it wherever they held it and to read it. But lots of times what happens is Pat Moynihan was like, we overclassify everything. And one of the things that for example, every time Jake writes me a memo, he puts on it eyes only. Well, 99% of what's in there is not classified material. So Jake, now I'll read it, go through it, mark it up, ask questions on it for him to get back to me. But I finally said, Jake, only mark those things which really are eyes only, eyes only. But it's so easy just to say, anything I'm writing must be eyes only. And 99.9% of it has nothing to do with anything I couldn't pick up and read out loud in public. Am I making sense to you?
Understood. So let me circle back now to the questions relating to Michelle, those folks who, folks who sat at those desks right outside your West Wing office when you were vice president, that group of people. Did you ask those folks who sat at those desks right outside your West Wing office as vice president, did you ask them to keep did you ask them to hang on to classified material that you would like to consult again and have that maintained out in their office space?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall where classified would be kept if you asked your staff to hang on to it?
No. I assume they locked it up in their drawers, their desks, or maybe a safe. I don't know.
So if you had asked your staff to hang on to some classified material that you didn't want to go away quite yet, how did they know how long to hang on to? In other words, would they ever come back to you and say, sir, it's been a few days, do you still need this, or can we get rid of it?
I just want to make it, because he said he didn't recall ever doing that. So what is this? Can you rephrase your question, Rob?
I'm sorry, I thought that he actually did remember having some material stored away and locked away by his staff.
I said, I don't know where they locked it. There's things that I said that I'm going to need this tomorrow. They could very well have then given it back to the staff who wrote it,
right,
and remind them tomorrow I want to talk about it. They could have put it somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. So this next question that I'm asking right now is not about where it was kept, but rather how long.
I have no idea.
Your staff know how to hang on to. Did they have a process where they said, sir, it's been a couple days, do you still need this?
No, what would happen is whoever the person who wrote the memo that I want, they would probably come back and say, do you still want to talk about this? That's more likely.
Yeah, and I just wanted to know, so it's clear on the record, the president just used the word probably. I mean, in a given day, I just want to get clear, he's giving his best recollection of conversations, tons of material that could have come his way, and he would have communicated his preferences and his wishes in various fashion. I just want to make that clear on the record. Okay.
So back in the time you were serving as vice president, sir, did you bring classified material back to the Naval Observatory from the West Wing?
I'm sure I did.
And can you tell us about what kinds of material you would take back with you? You talked about, would you take PED binders back
No,
to the Naval Observatory?
Never, PD binders were treated a completely different way. They got locked up, and then when I finished reading, they got locked up, they get handed to whoever was gonna take them, and then usually the people from the intelligence community would come and get them. I guess that's who came and got them. And if I was going to take something home to continue to study it, or I have staff over to the house to continue this discussion, I would say I'm taking this with me, and I hand it back to whoever the staff person was by the clearance that I was talking to about it. But I don't recall any specifics about that. But I mean, that's how I would do it if I was going to do anything. And there's a lot of talk, a lot of business got done as vice president from the residents. You know, a lot of business got done. And so there was a whole, it was like a machine. You know, I'd leave something on the desk that I was working out of the office I set up in the vice president's office, and they'd come and clear it out. And you know, when I got finished, I mean, it was much more routine because it was all in one place. There were personnel on the ground like there are now, not nearly as many, but you know, and so you know, that's all. I mean, that's how I remember.
So
I'm sorry, what was the last part? So that's how you remembered it. I just want to make sure it's picked up.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it sounds like what you're describing is that the system of your staff handling classified material at the Naval Observatory was similar to the way that it was handled in your West Wing office, which is if you were done with classified, you left it on your desk, and then your staff would take it and dispose of it. And I think I'm hearing that this same thing happened with respect to your workspace at the Naval Observatory.
Generic. Yeah, I had two desks. I had a desk. Times I had an office. I turned one of the rooms into an library, and I had a desk there, and I'd have meetings there. I'd call staff over there. We'd have meetings. I'd even, for example, I remember because I saw a picture recently. That's where I saw Xi Jinping. I had him at the vice president's residence. I had other leaders there. So there were occasionally lunches there. So there was more done in the VP's residence than clearly when I wasn't vice president, when I was a senator, or when I was out of office.
And I've had the pleasure of actually visiting the Naval Observatory, but I just want to have a better sense of where that workspace was.
Go look at it.
Was it at the?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think you gotta have a sense of, I mean, that home used to be the chief of naval operations office until we had to throw Senator Governor of Maryland out of office as vice president. And that's when they took over the place for the vice president. And that's why it's called the Naval Observatory still. It's a Victorian home. It's you know, function where they make the meals and things like that. there's a room that I turned into a meeting where I would work when I was home.
And you mentioned the second, office.
There was a bedroom and there's those Victorian homes, you know how they have the, and I put a small desk in there so I could work when I wanted to work in my pajamas or, you know,
I see.
that kind of thing.
So was this space in your side of it? That's helpful.
My wife did not like.
And I apologize if you've already addressed this, I can't recall. Do you know where your staff secured classified
No
documents
idea.
at the Naval Reserve?
No.
All right,
Although I don't know they stored anything. They may have.
I see.
In other words, if they came, they'd pick it up and take it wherever they were, you know, back to the office in the West Wing, or they take, I don't know where they took
I see.
it, but they didn't leave it there.
Okay, so I think implicit in that is, you didn't have an understanding, or you never directed your staff, hey, I want you to keep this classified in a safe here in the Naval Reserve.
No,
Okay. One of the things we learned by speaking to other members of your staff or vice president is that folks in the international security staff actually kept track of classified minors that had been provided to you, and they tried to track, this one's been returned, but this one has not. Let's try to find the ones that have not. Do you recall your
I
staff?
don't ever recall them telling me they were looking for a binder that I had that they couldn't find. I don't ever recall that. Could have happened, but I don't ever recall it.
Okay. And I just want to make sure that I'm understanding you clearly there. Do you recall your staff ever coming directly to you and saying, sir, we can't find binder X or binder Y?
I don't recall, then say it didn't happen, but I can't recall that.
Anything else on that? Before we move on?
I have a slightly unrelated question, Mr. President, but it is something you mentioned just a minute ago. You said that sometimes Jake, I think you were talking about Jake Sullivan, I think you were talking about today, will write you a memo and 99% of it is not classified, but it'll still mark it as eyes only.
More sensitive.
Yeah, we've been trying to understand eyes only and what that means. Is that used as a classification marking?
I would like to avoid having the president address the class of legal requirements for classification. I think it's clear he relied on staff for that.
My question, I think, is different, which is just what do you understand eyes only to refer to?
Means I'm writing this for you. It could be eyes only. I don't even want the president or the secretary of state or anyone. This is, you know, for example, I often had disagreements on policy matters with some of the foreign policy team that really good people that Barack had. I think it's fair to say Barack relied on me to do a lot of foreign policy. Because that's one of the reasons I think he asked me to be vice president, chairman of the committee and all of it. But if my team thought someone else's administration was exaggerating or making a mistake or wanting to, you know, send more troops into Iraq, I'm making this up. And I didn't want to. It might put eyes only, like, you know, this is not done. This is, we're having a fight with Charlie Schmidlap in the administration about what we do. The president's got to make a decision on this. but anything that was marked, classified with those markers, I never, ever remember doing anything other than being fastidious about where it went, how it got handled, and it got back to whoever gave it to me.
And when you say with those markings, just for the record, if I may, sir,
Do we have a copy of any of that stuff?
yes. You mean the colored borders?
Yeah.
Yes.
Borders. Because that's usually what they put in front of a book. If they give a binder, they'll have something on the, you have written there, President Biden, binder 1. They have this, they slide in this sheet that says top secret, slide in a sheet that says classified. You know, and it's usually, and it's easily marked, you know, it's a different color.
And that's helpful. We know the cover sheets that you're talking about. In your understanding, if something is marked eyes only, does that mean that it's being treated as classified, or does it not mean that?
I'm sorry, what's the question again, Mark?
Yeah.
If it's marked eyes only, does that mean it's classified or not?
In your understanding.
The answer is I'm not sure.
Okay.
And just as a general rule, I do want to not interrupt the flow of the question. I really don't want the president to be in a position where he's addressing specific questions about the classification system, distinctions among classification categories and whatever for purposes of this interview.
I just mean to be asking about what you understand those words to mean eyes only, because it's not a phrase that we are familiar with. So we're trying to.
Right, that's why I think it was mainly, look, keep this quiet, because you don't want this getting around. Inside, and it's not classified, you don't want, for example, I had real strong disagreements on a couple policy matters that were consequential relating to the allocation of forces. And so some really bright guys were in the administration who I strongly disagreed with on something. So you might say, it's eyes only, like, Joe, this is what you asked for, but just understand. But I didn't, it wasn't eyes only very often. I'm trying to think how often, maybe it's, I can't remember.
Okay. All right, so we've talked about your West Wing office, we've talked about the Naval Observatory, and now I have a similar set of questions with respect to the Lake House in Wilmington. So when you were serving as vice president, did you bring classified material with you from the West Wing or the Naval Observatory to the Lake?
Okay, because I did a lot of business from there. If you're in there for 99 hours, whatever the hell you were, with 375 people, or whatever the number was, I'm teasing you. You guys are you left everything in place. I just hope you didn't find it risque pictures of my wife in the business, which you probably did. But all kidding aside, I have a library, and the library has two filing cabinets in it, and it has built-in walls. I built that home, built into the walls, a space for a copy machine, for a what do you call it, when they send these things, fax machine. I have shelves that I have binders like this in it that I put together that aren't classified. They're about speeches I made on this matter, speeches I made on that matter. I just warn you all, never make one great eulogy because you get asked to do everybody's eulogy. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. How many people you know did eulogize Kenny and Strom Thurmond? Go anyway, all kidding aside. So I have things I'd like to get my hands on so I don't repeat myself, or that I want to get some ideas. But they're not classified. They're sitting up there. I'm sure, well, I'm not sure actually. Anyway, so there's that room, which is a formal library. You'll see pictures of it. You've been in it, I assume. And it also has a filing cabinet there that can be locked next to the desk. And the drawers of the desk can be locked. it's what you're able to do is an outgoing senator is able to purchase his desk if he wants to. So I purchased my desk for posterity sake. And you can purchase, when you leave the cabinet, or leave the Senate, vice presidency or presidency, you can purchase those chairs for $6 million. I purchased that. And you're able to purchase, or I've given someone purchased for me, gave me a gift, Teddy Kennedy, my chair I had in the Senate all the years I had it. So I have that chair is in that library as well. So, and then what I have is up on actually, I built that house. So the sun would always shine. I mean, I'm a frustrated architect. You went through, you probably saw all those significant number of house plans that I've drawn and have drawn. Matter of fact, in order to try to convince me not to run for the Senate for the 19th time, my wife said, look, if you don't run, I'll pay for architectural school for you. I'm not deadly earnest, not a joke. And at any rate, what I had was, I had a exactly. And I built that for two reasons. My dad was getting ill, and I did not want he and mom to be living alone. Although I commuted every day, they lived not far from me, along with the Cold White Creek anyway. So when I built the house, I built it and it cut out that looks out on, we call the lake, but it's a 10-acre pond someone else had built. And there's a pool table with a couch and then a big fireplace and as well as and then there's a rectangle on the side. And because I wanted my parents to be able to live there and have the privacy of having there was and so in that two file cabinets, there were attractive that I had when I was in either the home that I bought furniture for the home in Cambridge Road, or other, and so there are two big that big, and with two double file drawers each of the corners. So there are files down there, and then so we call that, you want to call it, or you want to call it. If you're in the whole, it's beautiful. It cost me more than the whole house. Literally, I had it handmade because I made a mistake with renting the place that are magnificent. Anyway, and then you go to and the office I have where I took the desk I had as a lawyer. First big case I went out and bought a beautiful desk in Credenza. You guys may have done something similar. And I have that in there, a couch and bookshelving and television in there. And there's a file cabinet in there, plus the file cabinets on the credenza behind, and open the two big file drawers. And there's file drawers on the desk. And so there's other, and then as things piled up, there was I wanted to have access for my able to come live with me if they wanted to or be with me. And what I did, I made sure that it's So you wouldn't think you're walking. And there is a big television. Below the television, there are filing cabinets, two long filing cabinets that television sits on. And so and so I can't think of what else may have been piled up there, as the FBI can tell you they're up there. I also had, I'm a frustrated architect, my gift was a drafting board that I got for Christmas.
For drafting, what's
A drafting board, board, sit and draft design. And so I have more stuff stacked up there now. And what happens is, as vice president and as president, photographer takes hundreds of pictures of it. And if you're on the way out of this, you know what we're talking about. You gotta walk them by just so they know what I'm talking about. There are pictures that are put on, what kind of board is that called? Anyway, poster board. Well, a poster board, a sticker.
Yeah.
And they're about 3 feet by 2 feet. And there's great pictures of all kinds of different things. And so I have them hanging on the walls all over that downstairs television room and some in the library, because they tell stories like I went to Mongolia and great pictures. I unfortunately embarrassed the hell out of the leader of Mongolia. They were doing what they would do at the time of the invasion of the Mongols into Europe in the 1400s and 800s. And they show what a normal day was, how they picnic, how they bivouac. And so we're out in the middle of nowhere and they're looking up in the hill and you see this tiny line. It's a 20-mile horse race with all these kids under the age of 16 on bareback racing to come down. And, they're sumo wrestlers and doing everything they do. And so they walked over and they had a target, bales of hay 100 yards away. And these guerrillas were, taking shots. And I don't know if it's embarrassed me or to make a point, but they handed the bow and arrow. Well, I'm not a bad archer. But the only problem they were if I could pull it back. So I, pure luck, I hit the kind of target. No, I really did. Bales of hay, like 20 bales of hay with a big target in the middle of the bale. And so I didn't mean it, but I turned the primary handed to him. And poor somebody couldn't pull back. Anyway, so I have pictures like that, that are up against the wall. And down here, they're all over in the West Wing. Anyway, so a lot of those pictures that you remember seeing them piled up. I mean, there must be 50 of them. I don't know what to do with them. So there's a lot of stuff in that attic that is, material that, and some of it is, I think some of it is notebooks of mine. I'm not sure, but anyway. That's the totality of where things would be.
Understood. That was very helpful. We have some photographs that you show you. You appear to have a photographic understanding and
No, and it wasn't grass for 3 years to build a house and plant it.
and there are parts of what you just helpfully shared with us that I'd like to circle back on.
Well, here's a question I have for you, Rob.
Yes.
I'm just mindful, I'm getting the 1 hour mark. I wonder if we could take, if it's okay with you, Mr. President.
I'm okay to keep going.
If we could take just a 10-minute break or a 5-minute break, would that be okay?
That would, if you all would like to keep going, I can keep going, but if you all would like to take a break, that's also great.
I think on the hour mark, it's to take at least 5 minutes. That's what it's. Let's do that. And we have a work room for you here and we'll keep it really short.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be back here in 5 minutes.
Yeah, be back here in 5 minutes. That's perfect.
Okay, so this is where I'm gonna stop it, and that way, we can just keep going and going. Anyway, that's good enough for right now. But I will be back on shortly. Thanks. Bye.